The power of
Mm-hmm.
perspective. You know that we're on our 30 and 60 challenge. By the way, drum roll, please. I am down since we started April 19th. I am down 22 pounds, everybody.
Woo! Yes, Mike.
All right, now tank top, tank top.
You can actually see my neck, y'all. You can see
I see it.
my neck.
You are doing a thing. Congratulations.
Go
Kudos.
on.
And so, it's funny because
Work.
a person, as big as I am, you see things, and right now we're excited because context. Like Mike is in the process of losing weight. But if somebody didn't know me and they saw me on the street, they would still say, "Man, you're gargantuan, and you're not doing anything about your weight." That's perspective, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times when we're walking through our lives, we have to recognize that we're constantly facing a battle of perspective. And to be honest with you, perspective really can be a game changer if you pay attention to it and you apply it when necessary. Great point. I think we've all been in psychology class, right? Remember psychology? And there's the infamous psychology illustration is a glass of water, right? But it's filled up halfway. Is it half what? Empty, or is it half full, right? And the idea is that there's no real right or wrong answer. I mean, there is something about the psychology behind, if your automatic default switch is to go to half empty or to half full, and we'll talk about that in a few moments. But at the end of the day, both of those answers are correct. Like the glass is half empty or it's half full, but how do you view it? And again, it's all a matter of perspective, right? And I think when you look at the psychology of it, they tend to say that a person that will view it first and see it as half empty, they tend to be a little more pessimistic. Whereas a person that looks at it as half full, they tend to be a little more optimistic. But the idea here is that is a great example of how perspective, when placed in a certain context, can work for us or can work against us. One of the things I recognize too is that there are many different areas that perspective can actually have on our lives. The first area is that it can determine our outlook. Again, like I said, is something positive or is it negative? And it determines how I proceed, right? If my perspective is, you know what, I am doing things, go back to my weight loss, I'm doing things to be actively engaged in my weight loss journey, then that's a positive perspective because that's what I'm doing. But if you don't know that I'm working on it, your perspective may be something different, right? And that's an outlook on how we proceed with things. If I don't understand the perspective or the point of view of something, therefore, what you will have to recognize is how will I proceed through to the next situation. So it determines my outlook. Here's the second thing. It determines my opportunity. What are the next steps I'm going to take, right? What are the next things that I'm going to do? What is it that I'm going to do as a result of the perspective, the way I'm looking at things? Maybe I need to change the angles by which I view something. For instance, see this picture right here? When you look at this picture, there's pictures of two different things there. When I first look at it, I've looked at this many times. I actually use this as an illustration in class. The first thing you see is there's an older woman, right? You kind of see the big part of her chin. You see her bigger nose. She has something over her head. It's more white-haired. She has crinkly eyes. But then someone else, when they first look at it, they may see a younger woman who's turned away, and you see the contour of her neck and her ears and the little tip of her nose. That's perspective, how I proceed, and I go forward. So I start talking about this picture, and I may tell a story about this older woman. Why? Because that's what I see. Whereas if I see a younger woman, I tell a story about a younger woman. Why? That's what I see. What's the opportunity that I'm going to present here, right? We go back to the bottle, the glass being half empty and half full. One of the things that I'll start thinking about is if I'm viewing it, if I was thirsty before I drank and I need something to drink, and there's still some water in the glass, guess what? There's still opportunity there for me to get some water to get my thirst quenched. Whereas if the bottle is half empty, it means that I'm not thirsty anymore. Why? Because I've drank half the water in the glass. It's all about the opportunity that exists. Here's the third one. Remember what I said? I said outlook, opportunity. Here's the third thing, the optics. Dr. David Roby, my mentor in college, he actually was responsible for why I went to Cedarville in the long run, recruited me for the speech and debate team. And he was also the director of theater there. And I did several plays for him there. One of the things he used to say to us all the time, it's not what you feel, but what you reveal. I'm going to say that again. It's not what you feel, but what you reveal. And that really meant a lot, especially in the context of theater. How many times have you gotten up? You start going off with lines. Listen, every actor that has been on the stage will tell you that they do not deliver the lines 100% every time they do a show. But at the end of the day, the audience, because unless they have the script sitting in front of them, they will not know unless you tell them that you messed up. Well, how do we do it? They say, oh, I messed up. Well, no, I just keep on going. Listen, there have been many times where I just started talking and my scene partner is like, dude, they're thinking to themselves, you just lost your lines. You don't know where you're at. And then all of a sudden what happens is we start creating this whole set of dialogue in the experience because it's not what you feel, but what you reveal. That's the optics of it. See, a lot of times, depending on your perspective determines how you view it and what it looks like. I told you all about the time that I actually spend as a official for refereeing for wrestling. And one of the things we always talk about is the fact that, as a referee, I'm supposed to be there to view certain positions at certain times. And if I'm not in the right position, there's certain things I can't see. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that the thing isn't there. It just means that I didn't necessarily see it. Mm-hmm. And so it also boils down to that as well. There are things that are always there, but because you're not in that perspective, because it's not a part of what you're used to looking at, maybe you didn't have experience with it before. Maybe it's something that wasn't as pronounced as you would think it should be. Whatever it is, just know it doesn't change it unless it's what your perspective is. So as you're moving forward in what it is that you're trying to get to, whatever your goals and your expectations are, remember the power of perspective, which can make a big difference.